Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, August 4th, 2014, and here are our top stories.
Tonight, a secret Border Patrol report shows that Ebola may have already crossed the border. Is it too late to stop a major pandemic in the U.S.? Alex Jones connects the Ebola outbreak with the open border and the homegrown terrorist threat, a government operation. Then, a Border Patrol agent admits that citizenship doesn't really exist under Obama. And the DHS is warning Americans about the #1 domestic terror threat. Are you on top of the list? Find out next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Well, we've seen over and over again that the Border Patrol rank and file are angry about what's going on at the border. They understand the dangers involved. They've been doing this for a long time. And so we increasingly see them acting as whistleblowers, giving us information that contradicts or exposes what the leaders are doing in Washington, what Homeland Security and those who control Customs and Border Patrol are doing. Now, there was a story that was a top link on Drudge today, and it was an exclusive from Breitbart with a document that was leaked to them by a Border Patrol agent. And they say, leaked CPB report shows entire world is exploiting the open U.S. border. That's right. We are equal opportunity smugglers, the federal government is. They're bringing in people from any and every nation. And we reported just a couple of days ago how the signs down at the border, many of them are now in Chinese as well as in English and Spanish. So it's not any one particular nation. And of course, it's nations that are also being screened for terrorism. Nations where if people are coming in on an airplane at an airport, they would get special attention. But of course, they can come through the border without any attention at all. But there's another angle to this that Drudge picked up on. He changed the headlines. What he said was, dozens from Ebola-struck countries are caught sneaking into the USA. Now, that was in the report from Breitbart. They pointed out that at least 71 individuals from the 3 nations affected by the current Ebola outbreak have either turned themselves in or been caught attempting to illegally enter the U.S. by authorities in the U.S. between January and July of 2014. Now, you notice they say 3 nations affected. Actually, there's been 5 nations where people have died from Ebola. And if you include those nations, as Kit Daniels noticed in our article, Ebola may have already crossed the border, Secret Border Patrol report shows. He points out that if you count the nations where people have died and where there have been cases where it's been contracted, all of the nations, not just the ones where we've had hundreds of people die, but the ones where it is now broken into, like Nigeria, that number goes up to over 1,000. He said nearly 1,000 illegals from Ebola-struck countries this year, meaning many more have not been apprehended. That's what he says in the top of the article. And yet he points out, and this is key, because although the article says that Ebola may have already crossed, it is definitely crossed. Because if it hasn't come across from people coming through our open borders that the feds have purposely opened up, that they told the Border Patrol agents to stand down and not arrest people, not interdict people, if it hasn't come across that way, they've actually brought people in, of course. He says instead of stopping illegal immigration, the Obama administration is outright encouraging it and has even gone so far as allowing Ebola patients to enter the United States, which is an unprecedented move. It raises the risk of an outbreak even higher as the hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, where the patients are being treated, doesn't follow a high level of biocontainment precautions. And as Alex Jones pointed out, that hospital is only a level 2 biocontainment center, and they have 4 levels of biocontainment. So it's not the highest, it's not the next to the highest, it's the 3rd from the highest level of containment. Now, on WorldNet Daily, WND.com, Michael Savage wrote an article, and of course, he has a PhD in epidemiology, and he asked, what's behind this? Why would they do something like this? He asked the question, he says, let's start with common sense. If a member of your family has a viral illness known as the common cold, what do you normally do? Well, you try to avoid contact with that person. Certainly, you want to avoid them sneezing on you or droplets from their cough spreading anywhere in the house, so you isolate and avoid an infected patient. Well, Ebola is a viral illness like a cold. And so he says common sense would dictate that you isolate and avoid contact with patients, because in this case, this is a fatal disease for which we do not have a treatment yet. But what does the government do? He says the morons who are running America are bringing infected patients to America, allegedly to treat them, but we all know that this is untreatable. It can only be managed. Well, maybe they're not just morons. Maybe they're minions. And what Michael Savage does is he looks at it and he says, let's take a look at the money. Let's follow the money behind this. Why would they bring these people here? They say that we have to fight our fears. We have to remain compassionate. And he said, yet the FDA is making exceptions to its protocols in bringing these people in. A very serious exception of those protocols. They say that previously it wasn't widespread enough and there wasn't enough fear about people being infected with Ebola. But now if they hype it up, now if they bring people into the country and if they are able to cure them, they could conceivably make billions of dollars by requiring this vaccine from everyone. That is a possible explanation. Of course, we know that they would like to have a crisis, a pandemic, any kind of crisis. Every crisis for them is an opportunity to grow the footprint and the intrusion of the government, perhaps to create martial law. Well, stay with us. At the end of the show, we're going to have a special report from Alex Jones, and he's going to look at what's going on behind this collapse of the border, and now we see the possibility of pandemics coming in. Now, this shock video that we were sent, take a look at this. A Border Patrol admitting that a citizenship doesn't really exist under Obama.
How you doing, U.S. Border Patrol? How many people on board?
Me?
U.S. citizen.
Yeah, but does it really matter?
Not anymore, unfortunately. Thank you.
You too.
So you catch that? The guy asked him, does it really matter if I'm a U.S. citizen? And he says, unfortunately not. You see, the federal government doesn't really care if someone comes across into the border, if they're going to essentially force you to support them, if perhaps they're going to come across and commit acts of violence. No, what they're really concerned about are not illegals, but they're concerned about citizens who question whether or not they're violating the law, who question their authority.
This is Alex Jones for InfoWarsLife.com. The latest in preparedness is now here. An electrically stabilized colloidal silver solution that can be added to both your home cabinet and preparedness pack alike. Concentrated to 30 parts per million in what has been dubbed the survival silver solution. The new InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver is the answer for you and your family. And it's entirely free of toxic artificial additives that are loaded into many products. The InfoWars Life Silver Bullet Silver is so powerful that it is concentrated into a 2-ounce bottle and is not recommended for extended continual use. This is not a low-grade formula. We are working with one of the top laboratory manufacturers in the United States to bring you the best form of colloidal silver using electrical processes within a base of deionized water for your preparedness storage. For your home kitchen, purchase your bottle of InfoWarsLife.com Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver today and find other amazing supplements at InfoWarsLife.com.